technical issues. Here we go.
Thank you. And I'm grateful to the business leaders with us today who continue helping make clear what we all know. Childcare is essential infrastructure for a strong economy. I hope today helps continue building momentum for action. Now, before we move into the agenda, let's take care of a few housekeeping items. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every committee member to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest. If any committee member has any known conflict of interest or is aware of facts that might create the appearance of such a conflict with respect to any matters coming before the committee today, please identify the conflict or the facts that might create the appearance of a conflict to ensure that any inappropriate participation in the matter may be avoided. If at any time any new matter raises a conflict during the meeting, please be sure to identify it at that time. Do any task force members have any possible conflicts of interest to disclose today? Seeing none. I also want to remind our members and guests that meetings at the task force on child care and early education are public meetings. The state of North Carolina's public records policy applies to our work. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the North Carolina Department of Commerce YouTube channel. So this task force was established just over a year ago. We spent our first year diving deep into the way childcare and early education challenges affect our state. We learned from experts about how unsustainable the childcare business model is, difficulties maintaining a childcare workforce in an industry with low pay and few benefits, and the high cost of care, both for providers delivering it and for families in need of it. We've published reports and we've issued recommendations, but we didn't expect that our state would still be deliberating a biennial budget in the second year of our task force's work. This year, as parents continue to struggle and childcare providers continue to close, the task force is sharing what we know with our colleagues in the General Assembly. And I want to thank every member of the General Assembly who is here today. We urge public investment in childcare and early education this legislative session. Childcare is more than an essential for moms and kids. It powers our economy. Our state's business community leaders have been critical partners alongside early childhood education leaders in helping us understand childcare as a key to economic opportunity. Leaders in the North Carolina Chamber and the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina have connected the dots between childcare and workforce. The Department of Commerce has created a role that helps employers choose childcare access solutions for their workers and centers childcare access in the state's economic development playbook. And local chambers of commerce and employers around the state are innovating to close childcare gaps in their communities. Today, we're proud to share the floor with several of our state's business community leaders, as well as executive champions from ExcelNC. We'll brief you on ways childcare access affects workers and businesses in our state, and we'll take questions from media and any guests from the General Assembly at the end of our meeting. I'd like to invite Dr. Christy Mata, Director of ExcelNC, up to quickly tell us about ExcelNC.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Hunt. We appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us and sending a warm welcome to ExcelNC this morning. So good morning, everyone. I am Christy Mata, and I direct ExcelNC, or Executives Championing Early Learning in North Carolina. Our mission is simple but urgent. Childcare is economic infrastructure, and North Carolina cannot compete without it. We all know this troubling reality. Parents can't find reliable, affordable care. Employers can't hire or keep employees. Productivity drops, shifts go uncovered. And as Lieutenant Governor Hunt said, this isn't just a family issue. It's a major barrier to workforce participation and a direct hit to our state's economic growth. That's why ExcelNC is bringing together a statewide coalition of business and community leaders who understand that stabilizing childcare is essential to stabilizing our economy. When parents can work, businesses can grow. And when businesses can grow, North Carolina moves forward. We're fortunate to have 3 of our ExcelNC executive champions with us today, leaders from industries like oil and gas distribution, hospitality, and healthcare, who feel the economic impacts of childcare shortages every single day. You'll hear from them later in the agenda, and they'll show exactly why business leaders are across the state are continuing to drive solutions so they can attract, hire, and keep employees in the communities that they call home. So to stay connected to the work of ExcelNC, learn more, or hear directly from employers in your districts, you can visit excelnc.org, just add an ORG to that one back there, and sign up for updates. Help make North Carolina a place where every child, every parent, and every business can excel. Thank you.
Let's hear from some of our state's business community leaders and employers. They'll each have a few minutes to share remarks, and once our speakers have wrapped up, we'll take some questions from the media and any legislators. First, I'd like to welcome Task Force member Gary Salamito from the North Carolina Chamber. Gary, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Governor Hunt. It's good to see you again. And also thank you, Senator Bergen, both of you for your leadership on the task force. It's a privilege to serve on it. And thanks to all members of the General Assembly here that are in the General Assembly now and some that have been in the General Assembly before for what you do every day. It takes a lot of courage to put your name on a ballot and then come here and work on really hard problems together that most of the time, 80% of the time, everybody's working together and working on problems that help North Carolina move forward. So we really appreciate that. A lot of good work goes on that we don't hear about. So thank you for that. I'm president and CEO of the North Carolina Chamber, member of the task force. Over the past several years, the North Carolina Chamber Foundation has researched the relationship between childcare and the kind of economic growth and success we want to see in North Carolina. The data is very clear. Without enough affordable, high-quality childcare, employers across the state are missing out on what they need. That's talent and people. Skilled workers are sidelined from the workforce. Childcare is an enabler of work. It's necessary to be there for folks that need it, and for folks that want to be there, for 2 folks that want to be in the workforce together. Childcare is an essential service that employers in every industry depend on to meet their workforce needs. The NC Chamber Foundation has led research demonstrating that childcare breakdowns are costing our state $5.65 billion in economic activity every year. $5.65 billion every year it's costing us if we don't have reliable, affordable, and available childcare. While we're grateful for the leaders in state government and in the General Assembly and what they have done, childcare challenges keep employers from hiring people with the right skills and experience, and inadequate childcare resources cost employers in the retention and in the attraction of their valued workers. We are grateful for everything that's been done by the General Assembly to date, and we're making headway through efforts like House Bill 412. Our numbers remain upside down still. Continued effort is needed to meet the demand and reduce barriers to work for our citizens. Our state's population is growing rapidly, but since 2019, we've seen 13% net loss of childcare programs. Innovative funding models, regulatory modernization, public-private partnerships, all of the above strategy is needed to address the concerns we have in North Carolina. Last year, the federal government made some permanent in the tax code under 45F, some things that hadn't been there before. So under 45F now, large corporations can take up to $500,000 a year of a tax credit for their childcare investments. And for the first time, small businesses can pool their resources and take up to $600,000 tax credits for their childcare investments. Both of those were not permanent before, and they were much less than they are now. We hope to see additional progress this legislative session that can help childcare providers stay in business and increase childcare capacity in North Carolina and help communities to grow and thrive. So our number one state for business can continue to be a number one state for business. And the leading indicator there is our people and our talent. That's why the folks are coming here. So thank you for what y'all do every day and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Gary. Next, I'd like to welcome Carol Steen, who's joining us this morning from Buncombe County. Carol, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for giving me the space to participate in today's discussion, and thank you to each of you for your public service towards such a great cause this morning. I am Carol Steen. I work as Vice President of Talent and Human Resources for Biltmore Farms, which is a community developer and hospitality organization based out of Asheville, North Carolina. I made the trip this week for this very important topic, and so thank you for allowing me to participate to the conversation. I'm also an NC Excel executive champion, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to represent the great work that this coalition is doing. I know that the task force has already done all of the great work, doing the research over the last year and participating in listening sessions. So I'm not here to repeat what you already know. I'm really here to bring to life what we're experiencing in Western North Carolina as it relates to the childcare crisis, also seen across the state. What you're documenting and seeing is real, and I'm here to tell you that story. So my story around advocacy started with a personal experience. When I was expecting twins, it was a narrative in the community that if you're expecting, you have to put your name on a wait list as soon as possible. So multiple wait lists I sat on for 10 months. If you do the math, that means I didn't get off a wait list until after my twins were born. And for an excited and a time in our lives, it also was the most stressful time because I was worried about working and getting back to my career, but also thinking about the care of my twins that I just went through the experience of delivering. That experience didn't just shape myself as a parent, it really fueled my purpose in life as a business leader, is to think about the experiences our employees are going through and how do we improve on those experiences. What was hard for me, I knew was likely impossible for other people that didn't have the resources and flexibility that I was afforded in my career. So in the 17 years in workforce leadership that I've been in Western North Carolina, across multiple anchor organizations in the community, I've watched that same scenario that I experienced play out for our employees day in and day out. I've watched parents quietly quit the workforce because they couldn't have access to the childcare that they needed, not because they wanted to, but because they were forced to make the impossible decision to stay at home to be with their children. I've watched a staff accountant, most recently, had her third child and couldn't get back to work to provide for her family because there wasn't a slot available even after she put her name on multiple wait lists. Her employer needed her, she was ready, but there just was no opportunity for that childcare. The moment of starting a family or growing a family then turns into a professional crisis. And that happens across our state each and every day. Employers must absorb that loss silently and have to deal with the resignation or delay of productivity as a result of the childcare crisis we're all experiencing. This happens in government, in healthcare, in private sector. It happens for our hourly associates, our salaried professionals. This problem actually doesn't discriminate. So regionally in Western North Carolina, the State of Child Care report confirms what I know to be true about our workforce is that we're losing slots in Western North Carolina. The enrollment has fallen over the last year, and facilities that were damaged by Helene, who were already struggling financially due to COVID, are closing their doors. And so the work with Helene damaging facilities in our community, that continues 18 months after the storm. Childcare was fragile before Helene, and it remains even more fragile after the storm, costing our workforce, our families, and our regional economy. So this task has already identified the solution that will move the needle forward, and that is setting a floor for subsidy reimbursement rates. That is so important and key to funding facilities and getting them the reimbursement that they need to appropriately operate. Providers can't sustain their operations if the reimbursement rates are too low. And like any business, they're going to close their doors if the funding stream's not there. Every closure of a facility or a slot means working parents don't have an option to spare. And a reimbursement rate floor will stabilize what most providers will need, particularly the providers at most risk, the ones that are serving the families with the least alternatives. So 18 months after Helene, I'm here to say we're open for business in Western North Carolina. Please come visit us. Our people are showing up, our workforce is ready, but economic recovery and workforce redevelopment can only happen if we solve this issue with our childcare crisis. So thank you so much for giving me the space to share this story with you all. And I hope that this sheds some light on what the legislator can do to support childcare in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing that experience. I'd like to welcome Task Force member Rhonda Rivers up to help unpack the idea behind the task force's recommendation of setting a floor for the child care subsidy reimbursement rates. Thank you all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so honored to have an opportunity to be here before you this morning. I'm encouraged, I'm inspired, because this is what it takes. To have the chamber here, to have our legislators here to take a moment out of your day, to hear from us, to have business leaders, other agency leaders. This is what it takes. I am told that North Carolina, and I will harp on this, that we're the last ones to accept or approve a budget, but that's okay, because I believe we save the best for last. I'm encouraged. I'm a believer that all things work for good. So my lens is that we're using and are taking advantage of that opportunity to see what other people have come up with, because I'm told that South Carolina and Virginia, our neighbors, have already approved something that they believe will work for their families in North Carolina. And when I say families, that incorporates, that doesn't mean you're just a mom or a dad or a grandma or grandpa. Those are the most important roles, but you're also an executive with the oil company that's here today. You might work for Christie's company at early years. You might work for Wells Fargo or Bank of America. You might work for the collision place I have to take my car to get fixed this week. But those roles are critically important, because none of us are in a silo where we don't need working citizens. And those working citizens produce families. So what does that mean? I believe that that means that we have a responsibility. So I'm going to back up again. I'm Rhonda Rivers, the managing partner and co-owner of Leaf Spring Schools in North Carolina. We serve about 1,000 families in Mecklenburg and Union County. Are there any people here from Mecklenburg and Union counties? Okay, wonderful. I'd love to be able to meet you and invite you in, because I need you to do what you do so we can connect, and I'm happy to explain what it is that I do and those people. And so that's what community is all about. I also have the privilege of serving as the chair of North Carolina Child Care Commission and to be a member of this task force. As I was driving from Charlotte this morning, and someone asked me, they said, Rhonda, you're not driving there for 2 hours. You're not driving 3 hours to be there for 2 hours, to drive back for 3 hours, to go to my son, who's a seniors regional conference game against Providence High School youth, those of you that are in Charlotte tonight. Preston Rivers is his name. Just wanted to let you know that I thought it was worth it. I think it's important. It was worth every ounce of my time, and it gave me an opportunity to really reflect on who we really are as citizens of North Carolina. I thought back about your dad, and I remember early on as an educator in early childhood, how inspired I was by our governor taking a stand to say, young people, not just 5-year-olds, they're cute too, but young people and families need our help and our support and our investment as early as conception. Let's not lose that, because I'm confident that most of you respect and honor Governor Hunt and his memory and his legacy and his hard work like I do. That is the heartbeat of who North Carolina is. So I'm confident that with this group that we have today, we won't drop that ball and we won't lose that energy. And again, I say, I believe we saved the best for last, because we're going to show, I'm confident in this, South Carolina, Virginia, what the real plan looks like to show our true investment in children and families. You've heard how expensive childcare is and how expensive it can be. It is. I want to help you. I want to briefly explain to you why, and I'll share one thing we can do in this legislative session to make a difference. For those of us that are in early education, that's myself, I work in the programs. In my schools, I need to see them every day. I want to make sure that they're okay. I want to find out what I can do, what I can share with you. So for those of you, if you don't need childcare now, keep living. Your children will need childcare. Your grandchildren will need childcare. Your neighbors will need childcare. And those people will grow up to be the citizens that we see that, again, work side by side with us and help us solve problems in our world, which starts here in North Carolina. We hire the right number of skilled teachers and staff. We stay up to date on CPR. That's always been our philosophy. We train in all the first aid trainings. We ensure we provide 3 balanced meals. We hire chefs in our school. And I know my friend Dan Rockaway, he does too, because I've heard about some of his menu options that his wife comes up with. That there's a great expense to that. It would be a lot less expensive, but it's important to us what our children are putting into their bodies, because we want their minds to be as clear and as possible for the work that they have to do. Many of our state's childcare providers participate in the childcare subsidy program because they believe care and education should reach every child, regardless of their family's income. So when I'm talking about subsidy, I'm not necessarily talking about the Rivers kids. I'm not talking about the Rockaway kids. I'm probably not talking about your kids, sir. But I am talking about children that are still a part of this community that we're a part of, and that their families are working for us and working side by side us, and they need that investment. I believe that when we show people that we care and we show up, they show up differently. And that's what parents are looking for, to know that we care enough. They're not looking for a handout. Childcare providers aren't looking for a handout. I'm not looking for a handout as a business owner. Dan is not looking for a handout. We're looking for understanding to help you understand the cost, our doors open so that families can go to work. So that I shared this story before, so that my son's orthopedic doctor, when he needed hand surgery, was able to leave his 4 children at my school and he could do that surgery. So my husband and I can get back to work, and my son can get back on the baseball field against Providence High. But unfortunately, I just wanted to give you just a glimpse, just a little, but the matter is not, it's a laughing matter at all, because we have 100 counties in North Carolina. The rural areas are underserved. Mecklenburg, Union, and Wake counties aren't the only counties. They may be the shiny counties with the nicest malls and the nicest shopping areas. But the kids in Cleveland and Randolph County, they are just as valuable as the children that are in Mecklenburg and Union and Wake counties as well. So to me, what it says, and forgive me, I'm not putting thoughts into your head, when the reimbursement rate is $500 less for one of those counties for an infant in a 5-star high-quality childcare center, to me, that's saying that they don't have as much, so they don't need as much, but they could actually need more. Okay, so this is our opportunity to stand up for them. In other words, providers already operating on a razor-thin margins are missing out on revenue that could help them stay in business and even serve more children. I'm told that North Carolina, I believe, regardless of what the stats say, that we are one of the most beautiful state, the most attractive state in this country for so many beautiful reasons. And I'd like to believe that families are migrating here to be a part of this for our schools. Those schools gonna start with Chapel Hill and Duke and Wake Forest. They start with dance schools. They start with my school. It starts early, right? And so with that being said, rural childcare providers are especially affected. This legislative session, we can help stem the childcare closures. I'm told that about 260 schools in our state that we represent, that we live in, closed last year between January and October. Just to help you understand that, that means a lot to me. My schools didn't close, my friend Dan's schools didn't close, but I'm not okay that my friend's school closed. Not when they were doing an amazing job, they just couldn't afford it. Last week alone at my school, we spent $9,000 on bus repairs to transport our children to and from the after-school programs. If we did not have that $9,000 in a reserve somewhere, this is just last week, then those children couldn't have gotten picked up from their schools. And did I mention that the cost of gas for us to run those buses are more expensive? And did I mention in the same week, and I could not make this up, we also spent another $4,300 for a water heater that went out? Okay, I just wanted to share that. Creating a floor for subsidy reimbursement rates can make childcare providers that they are receiving significantly less just because of their zip code. I came from a zip code that was not 28277, for those of you that know Charlotte. I live in 2877, but that's not where I grew up. That zip code matters deeply and greatly, and we need to make sure that we until every county is covered. Even if you are responsible for Ewing County or Mecklenburg County or Wake County, your voice will impact change that says you care about the people you sit in the cabinet with, that you care about their county as well, because their children could migrate. They may be commuting, and you know that's a real situation now, commuting different places for different jobs. Investing in our state's child care subsidy program has appeared in legislation drafted last summer, and it's part of Governor Stein's budget recommendations this year. Today, we're asking decision makers to help make these investments a reality. Subsidy programs help working and student parents afford licensed quality childcare. It sincerely is an early investment. So I'm asking you, and I believe that it's intentional. It wasn't on accident. It wasn't because we were being difficult. I don't think we're a difficult state to work with. I believe we just needed clarity. So today we come here to provide you with more information and more clarity. So now we can go to the table and deliver a budget that is the best that we can come up with, and that we will think outside of the box, and we will lean on each other for understanding, because every county deserves a rate that will allow their children to get what they need, their providers to be able to afford health care for the people that are taking care of their children, and for those families to go to work with some peace and comfort in the most affordable way they can, considering they also have to pay for gas, so they can show up in your companies and they can stay. And then your bottom line increases as well. This is what community is all about. I believe in you, and we're willing to do this work with you together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Next, let's welcome Chris Patterson, an executive who's with us from this morning from Charlotte. Chris, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Governor Hunt, Lieutenant Governor Hunt. Thank all of you, our legislators, our community advocates, and all of the people in this room who are doing the real work to make sure that we have adequate child care services and early education opportunities for our children. We cannot thank you enough for the work that you do. So it's hard to follow Ron. And yes, Rhonda, Providence High School is a great place to watch baseball. She has a lot of passion, and it's matched by several of you whom I've had the privilege of getting to know. And it's just an honor to be able to come up here and address you. As the Lieutenant Governor said, I'm Chris Patterson. I'm Chief Executive Officer at Carolina Complete Health. And we, along with our affiliated companies, employ about 2,000 people in Greater Charlotte and across North Carolina. We offer Medicaid health plan services. We're partially owned by the North Carolina Medical Society and the North Carolina Association of Community Health Centers. And what we do is we deliver healthcare, or we provide for healthcare delivered by our providers to almost 750,000 children, adults with disabilities, families who are eligible for Medicaid. So this is a very important topic to us. As an employer, and I'm going to probably talk about a couple of stories that are very similar to what Carol talked about. So same kind of stories, different industry, but we see this across different types of employers. We have single parents who earn good salaries, who still see childcare consume 1/3 of their gross wages, which is just untenable, right? It's untenable. We have seen even more challenging situations where employees might have to give up their entire paycheck for a period of time to hire nanny type services as a stopgap measure until they can get off the wait list and get into a child care center. We also see couples who could use two incomes. I mean, today, in today's day and age, a lot of couples need both incomes coming in. And when they do the math on purchasing healthcare, if they have two or more children, it sometimes just does not make sense for both parents to work. The math just doesn't work out. And what we end up doing is losing, employers like us, we lose one of those parents out of the workforce so that they can care for children. Also, I'm very interested in Medicaid and the population that we have the privilege to serve. Many folks who are eligible for Medicaid are also eligible for our state's child care subsidy program. But thousands of children, and this is something that's been set up here in the past half hour, thousands of children who are in households that qualify for the subsidies are trapped on a wait list. You've heard this before this morning. We have had situations where we've had to kind of weave together solutions for the people we have the privilege of serving, where we work with community providers, we work with community organizations, we have care managers involved. And the whole idea is to splice something together while our folks are on the wait list so that they can seek employment, or they can take care of other healthcare needs or other health or other social needs that they have in their family. Investing in our state's child care subsidy program and improving subsidy reimbursement rates can encourage more children and more child care providers to accept subsidies and help our families move off these wait lists that we've talked about. A subsidy floor brings stability to more child care providers, to the child care market, which directly translates into stability for the workforce. This is a high leverage investment. It stabilizes existing programs, supports the workforce, and allows for more people to participate in the economy. Thank you to the task force. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Hunt, and of course, Senator Bergen. Our legislators are here today. Thank you for allowing me to make these comments. Appreciate it.
Finally, I'd like to welcome Jean McLaurin, an economic development and business leader, joining us from the Sandhills. Jean, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's great to be here with all of you today. And thank you, Lieutenant Governor and Senator Bergen, for putting this group together today. I am Gene McCline. It's already been mentioned a couple of times that somebody is here representing the oil and gas industry. Now, folks, let me go ahead and say I have nothing to do with gas prices. Thank you, Ryan, for bringing up that gas prices are high, and they are. But let's save that for another day. But I do manage a petroleum distributorship in rural North Carolina. I live in Rockingham in Richmond County. We have offices in Lumberton, Laurinburg, Wadesboro, and Rockingham. So that's my home. That's where I've grown up. It's where we've reared our family. It's a rural North Carolina, and many of you I know are from rural North Carolina. It's a great place, not only to live and to work, but to raise a family. I also have the honor of chairing the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. Most of you are probably familiar with the organization. It's known as EDPNC. It was created, I want to shout out to the legislature here. It was created 11 years ago as a public-private partnership to bring some private sector practices into our economic development efforts here in North Carolina. And it's worked very, very well. I'm old enough to remember, folks, when South Carolina, well, I won't mention states, neighboring states were cleaning our clock in economic development. Gary, I think you would agree with that as well. This public-private partnership that we create is where we put public sector dollars together with private sector investment and practices has helped North Carolina to be, right now, the #1 state in the nation for business. Folks, that's something to be proud of. We've helped bring good paying jobs to every corner of our state because of our people and our shared commitment. Our university and community college system is second to none, and we're the envy of many other states. But we need to accept the fact, folks, that and admit that we've got some gaps in our childcare and in our early education system that need to be addressed. You've heard about some of those examples with the previous speakers, no question about it. Too many young children in our state are missing out on essential education that can set them on the path to success that we all want for them. Too many young parents, as we've heard, are willing but unable to enter the workforce due to the cost of childcare. There are some inspiring employer-led innovations that are operating in communities all around North Carolina to put high-quality childcare within reach for many of our working people, but not enough. And private industry, frankly, just cannot do this alone. We need both public and private sector investment to address this challenge that we're facing here in our state. During this session, I'm encouraging the General Assembly, and it sounds like that is definitely occurring. And thanks to you for your service as a representative of your community here in Raleigh. I know what it takes to serve here, and it's not easy, and we're grateful for that. But we've got to develop a budget that does work toward providing help for these young families. Right now, our Economic Development Partnership, we're the first point of contact for companies that are looking at North Carolina to locate a facility or some type of a business. I checked this morning, we have 242 projects in our pipeline. Now, our business recruiters are in touch with these folks every day. And now these are not people that just pick up the phone and call and say, I'm interested in, these are valid and legitimate prospects. 58,000 new jobs are in that pipeline for the future. Almost 60 billion in capital investments are a potential for new investment. We won't win them all, we know that. but we'll win a lot of them, and we have been winning a lot of them. And the future success and what we hear from these companies and from the consultants who represent them is workforce, skilled, talented workforce. Preparing our workforce really begins when children are born. Think about that. It really begins when children are born. A state like North Carolina, we're #1 in business. We can do better than where we are now for our children and children. And I have confidence in our shared mission to make that happen. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking our speakers. And if they can all come up, we will now take questions and answers. I know people have to be somewhere at 11. Everyone that spoke, please join me. Don't trip over this. All right. So let's open the floor up to General Assembly members or members of the media. If you have any questions for any of us, raise your hand or just start talking. Yes.
Matthew Stafford with the Insider. I know a preliminary report from the task force said that it would take a $230 million investment for the child care subsidy system to align with the true cost of care. Is that how big this investment is for the subsidy rate for?
I'm sorry, say the question.
Yes, I know there was a preliminary report from the task force said that it would take a $230 million investment for the subsidy system to reflect the true cost of care.
Right.
How big is today's investment for the subsidy for
You mean how much are we currently paying?
Well, what's in the proposed legislation? I know.
Oh, well, so Senator Bergen is just filing his legislation as we speak. I am not at liberty to say what's in it, but he will be available to answer all of those questions from his.
That legislation is
Yeah.
setting up for the subsidy reimbursement.
Well, that legislation has a $75 million amount to go towards that. So yes. Yes.
I've heard from many, my name is Liz.
Yes.
Liz Bell.
Yes.
I'm a reporter with NNC.
Yes.
And I've heard from many business leaders and owners when they first hear about childcare challenges that who are interested in maybe providing subsidies for their own employees or even opening up a childcare program themselves. I'm curious if there's a moment where a light bulb went on for you all that made you say, hey, either my own business or the private sector, as you said, can't solve this on their own and, requires more public investment. Is there a moment that made that click for you?
You want to comment on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been developing for a while. I mean, we poll our executives and our CEOs every year. We've been doing it since 2011. And for the last about 7 years, it's been taken up as one of the top priorities for them. And now the two of the top 5 priorities are childcare and housing. So the executives from all around the state, their HR folks have continued to see what it takes to attract and retain talent here. And those two issues have steadily come up to the top, and it really is an issue.
I agree with Gary. I'll just add to that. Despite the fact that I have a lot of gray hair, I do remember when I raised children. All child care is amazing. We've got grandchildren in child care now. I talked to my daughter who's right here, taking the kids up to school, here in elementary child care. And as an employer, I know what it's like in the workforce when folks call that morning, we've got issues with child care, we just can't come to work. I mean, it truly is a problem across the state. And I think Rhonda's up here and she talked about rural North Carolina. There are so few opportunities for childcare providers in our rural communities like where I live. And so, as far as the light bulb moment, I don't know. I've been experiencing it for many years.
I think the light bulb moment for me, very similar to what's already been said, was just the issues that came forth from our people saying, and people that we've lost who say, I can't afford to do this. So when that started coming in a significant way, that was, it became evident that there's an issue.
And I would just add that, certainly as a private employer, you look at all the different solutions that might be possible to try to solve or alleviate the issues that your own employees are experiencing. But I think it takes leaders in the community to recognize this is more of a community issue. And so while we might be able to put investment in our own employees, it doesn't solve it for everyone that maybe our neighbors and those that we work alongside. And so we tend to leave the experts in early childhood and those providers to run their businesses, and we continue to support and get them funding that they need to support all employees within Western North Carolina.
Yes, Representative Cervez.
Hello, I'm Representative Maya. I want to ask a question that addresses large corporations and our small businesses. So in our large corporations, part of the efforts that we are trying to bring in and attract companies are from our performance-based incentive packages. Could there be a possibility of integrating more childcare as a criteria in that portion? And then the second question I have is 85% of our businesses in North Carolina are small businesses. They can't just uplift the childcare center in their 5 people employee. So how can we in the legislature or us as a community of childcare advocates help our small businesses?
Good question.
Who wants to take that?
Well, I think there's a couple of ways. One is that for the small businesses, I referenced earlier, for the first time, small businesses now on the federal side can pool their resources to get tax credits for their investments in childcare under 45F. That didn't exist before, and it's permanent, and it's up to $600,000 for groups. So groups can come together for the first time and do that piece with it. And I think we have to be thoughtful and creative and reimagine what these discussions look like versus where they have been historically. Regulatory certainty, regulatory modernization doesn't mean that we're doing less. It just means that maybe we're freeing up other things because we're taking advantage of technology, because we're looking at how our facilities are constructed, because we're looking at the education levels that are inside of our teachers that are in there, have different levels for different folks. We can keep everybody safe. Can we get retired teachers to come back in? Can we make that a little bit easier with it to help understand and manage the cost? So I think we put everything on the table right now and think creatively in today's world versus what we've known in the past. We always tend to go back and say, well, that didn't work, or we just need more of that. We're in an interesting time that we've never seen the rate pace of innovation like this. We have to think of this the same way.
Yeah, and speaking for a community that's made up of many small businesses in Buncombe County, I'll just underline what I shared earlier around the subsidy reimbursement floor being increased because it particularly helps our rural communities, and most counties in North Carolina are rural communities. And so by doing that, you're helping small businesses directly who don't have the private resources to stand up their own childcare facility. That's really important. And this is one very specific action that could help our small businesses and our rural communities together.
Any other questions? Yes. Yes.
I'm Representative Jude from Boyd County. This question is for maybe for Ron or maybe Christine. On this page, it says that the raising subsidy for can support more than 7,800 additional childcare enrollments. What I'm very concerned, that's cost, but we don't have the workforce, the teacher workforce to support that many more kids in childcare. For a childcare owner like yourself, are you experiencing a workforce shortage of teachers? Because I feel like we can invest all we want in childcare, but we don't have actual teachers that are in these bathrooms and raise their pay. Yeah. To do that, and I mean, this is great, but I just worry about that side of it. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure, and that is a very good question. I'm glad you posed that. So it ties hand in hand with the subsidy rate floor. It's not that teachers or people aren't interested in working in this industry. It's that they can work at Target and make more. So can offer them more, when they can pay them a wage that makes sense, that is wage and offer benefits, they're there, right? And even with that investment, when we have more, and one of our, we also serve, we have an NC pre-K program in our school. Our reimbursement rate is about $700 a month. That does not cover the cost of childcare. And it feels so good to offer that, right? We're losing money on the back end. So just day before yesterday, my business partner and I sat in a meeting for 6 hours talking about where we can cut in other areas just so we can make this make sense. So really, the answer to your question is this increase in subsidy and providing a subsidy floor increases what childcare owners are able to pay so that we can recruit and retain teachers. It all comes back to that. I'm on the director's Facebook page, and you should see the number of people and owners, and you'll see the number of people say, have you received your payment yet? You know, they're waiting. They're waiting. They need to know. And there's some places that are truly in a situation where if they don't receive that payment on time, they have to cut hours or cut teachers. So it's not that we can't find them. Are they coming slower? They are, because of all that they know to be true. And that is that we can't recruit them with a wage that is appealing to them, right? But are they interested in this industry? Yes, they are. However, I am pleased to say that the division and other agencies are creating wonderful things like the Child Care Academy to cover cost up front. Teach, we are a program that our programs, we support Teach, so we're willing to pay for education. So, and you know that we've modernized, thank you for your support on that. It makes a very big difference with the pathways to our 5-star system. It makes a very big difference. It gives us a little bit more time to get them in more affordably. And then hopefully as we come up to par with what we're paying, at least to cover the cost of care, then we can pay the teachers more. So we can get the workforce. And especially with how we modernize early childhood, we can get them a little bit less expensive, because even though it's beautiful to get them all in with degrees, it's even more expensive, right? So this will allow us to get them in a little bit more affordably, but we need that rate floor matters. That is a start for us to get the teachers and be able to pay them. I hope that helps. Yeah, so this is all relative. Okay.
All right, we have time for one more question. Yes, Sandy?
I'm Sandy Weatherby, I'm in the child care business. Yeah, I guess the question goes to Dee or here. As I look sort of across the nation, and look at what other states are doing, state competitive business, business development, economic. Everybody's trying to sort of catch up with what we're doing, and we're doing number one. So we're number one, so we get a lot of attention, but to stay number one, I think we have to be attentive to the fact that everybody else is trying to do what we're doing. And sometimes the distance between where we were, child care space, is not as drastic. I mean, we were so far ahead of everybody. We were the darn business for number. And I just wonder, is that going to help sort of move some of what you all talked about through the process? If you understand my question, I don't want us to forget it. We got a lot of people.
I think it definitely will. It's a great question too. And you're right, other states are gunning for us. I mean, it's a competitive world out there for recruit companies to go around and help existing companies to expand. That's the other issue that we spend a lot of our time. It's not just trying to bring new people in, but help existing companies that are here already to expand their operations and continue to employ our people. Yeah, we're looking for innovative ways that we can address this so that we've got that future workforce we need to be able to fill these jobs. It's just an issue. So it's a serious issue, and I appreciate the fact that the legislature is stepping up on this.
Lieutenant Governor, if you just allow me to say one thing, I just want you to understand that the rate floor increase and having a bottom for that rate floor, it is really the foundation, is where we start. So it is necessary for us to start so we can recruit teachers, but also retain. Because what we can't afford to do as we're bringing all of these wonderful businesses to North Carolina is have another 300 programs closed in the next 7 to 8 months. So right beside the airport and Duke and community colleges and all of that, there should be a link for high quality preschools, because it starts there as well. So I just want to share it's foundational. We can build from there.
Gary?
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is, the other piece that's important is that we gotta look at our housing prices, because they're inextricably linked. The childcare and the housing crisis is inextricably linked. You know, we're short 750,000 units right now for what we have before other 58,000 jobs. And we're gonna continue to grow. So right now, we have to create opportunities and modernize, so our firefighters, our teachers, our nurses, policemen, service workers can have an opportunity to live in the community they serve.
That's good.
If we're able to take these two, work on them together, they help each other in that regard, right? So if people don't have to travel as far to work, then the things will come together. But we've got to look at the housing piece. We really do.
All right. Thank you all so much. Please pick up the two fact sheets from ExcelNC and the task force on this front table. We really, really appreciate your time. We so appreciate your speaking, and thank you all. Have a great day.
Can you guys stand right in front of him for
Sure, let's get a picture. Yeah, yeah. Take it.
I'm all in there. Yeah. Hey.
Thank you.